Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how I manipulate my stretch stripe to create different effects. So we're going to be starting off with this front bodice effect here. So here I have the front bodice of a blouse I'm trying to create the stripe on. And first of all, what I'm going to do here is to determine where each stripe will fall on. So I'm trying to carve out the upper part of the bodice that has a horizontal stripe for it. So I just marked it out like so, and I'm going to be cutting it out because as you can see the bodice had two kinds of effect on it, the horizontal and the chevron stripe effect on it. So I'm going to also cut across the middle part of the bodice like so. So here I'm done cutting it out. Next thing I'm going to do is to place the upper part of the bodice on the stripe fabric, but before I do so I must have to make sure that the upper and lower fabric stripe match with each other. It's very important to put that into consideration so that your stripes will match with each other. And here we are done working with the upper part of the bodice, and now we're going to go over with the lower part of the front bodice. So I'm just going to take one piece of it and place it on my stripe, and watch how I create this. If you want to have a chevron stripe effect, you are going to moving your fabric towards the right side to create this effect. As you can see the effect now. But if you want to have an inverted chevron, you have to move it to the other side, which is the left side. This is a very easy way of getting it. So once you master the art of moving your interface to get the stripe effect you want, even if you are not using a translucent fabric, you can always get it. So here it is. I've cut one part of it like so, and I'm going to use this part I've cut already to get the other part of the stripe without needing the interface for it. So once I'm done with cutting one side, I'm going to be placing my stripe fabric like so on a vertical angle like so, and I'm going to be using this to mark out the other part, placing the right side to the right side of each stripe. So I'm going to be matching these stripes on both sides of the fabric to make sure that both of them align with each other. As you can see, I'm trying to move it to align with each other, and once I get it right, I'm going to be cutting it out as the other part of the front bodice. So as you can see, it has matched with each other, so I'm just going to cut this out. So see how it matches here. As I put all the stripes I've cut out, see the stripe is already formed, the effect is already there. Always make sure you put a seam allowance on each part of the joining side of your fabric, and see it after I've sewn it together, it looks as good as this and similar to what we have in the picture we are copying from. So next we are going to be creating this simple skirt stripe effect here. So here I have a straight skirt, pencil skirt interface, and I'm going to be marking across the middle part of it like so, and I'm going to be cutting this out. As you can see, the picture we are copying from, one side of it has a straight vertical stretch stripe, while the other part of it has a horizontal stripe effect. So I'm just going to place this on this fabric like so, and I'm going to be cutting it out. And this seems to be the simplest method of creating effect, because you don't need to be tilting or moving your interface like you do in chevron, like moving sideways or the left or the right, because this is just a simple straight stripe cut. So you just place your interface like so, and then you cut this out, and we're going to go ahead and cut the other side of the skirt. So now we're done with this vertical line, we're going to be moving over to the horizontal aspect of the skirt, which is the left side of the skirt now. So as I place this stripe on it, and I've cut it out and sewn it together. This is what it looks like. This is pretty simple and basic for creating stripe effect. So here we are going to be working on this stripe effect as so. So here I've already marked out the middle of the skirt and where the darts are supposed to be, if there are darts at all. This is just a reference line to help me mark the other parts of the skirt. So I'm marking the lower part of the hip for this side and the middle of the hip for this side. So what I'm going to be doing is to move 2 inches away from the dart line like so and mark, and then from there I'm going to be using my ruler to connect the mark I made beside the dart line to the one I made below the hip line at the left side of our skirt. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to connect this line to the middle part of the line. So now I'm going to be using these parts of the skirt to create the effect. Here is just a horizontal line for the lower part of the skirt. So I'm just going to place this on my stripe and cut out. Now I'm done cutting it. I'm going to be working on the other 2 parts of the skirt. So I'm picking the right side first, and as you can see, for the stripe we are copying from, you can see there was a line that joined, that was in between the upper part and the lower part of the skirt. So we're just going to place it equally on a straight line as well and cut out. It's very, very important to study your stripes in order to find an easy way of copying it. So here we copied it according to the way it was lying on the skirt we are copying from. So that's how I finally arrived at cutting it on a straight line. So see, it matches and looks similar to what we have in the picture. So we're going to be using the same method to cut out the other part of the skirt, since it's the same technique. So we're going to find a horizontal line as well and place this part of the skirt we just cut out from the angle of cutting, and we're going to be cutting it out. As you can see, we're going to be matching this onto the skirt, and guys, as you can see, it looks similar to what we have in the picture. So we're done with this. You sew this together and it will look similar to what we have in the picture, like so. So here we're going to be working on this skirt as well. To create this effect, you can see there are 2 different kinds of stripe effect here: the horizontal effect and the chevron effect. So I'm going to be marking where each stripe will fall on. So I'm marking 3/4 of the front skirt, and first of all I'm going to be opening up my fabric like so, because I need to mark the middle of my skirt. It's just a reference line that can help me determine where to mark for the rest of the stripe. So here I'm marking somewhere below the hip line, and 3/4 of the center front of my skirt. So I'm going to be connecting these lines like so. And once I'm done marking, I'm just going to go ahead and cut across the mark we just made. And also I'm going to be cutting across the middle part of the center front of the skirt. So here I'm simply going to cut out the upper part of the skirt And remember, always try to match your folded fabric stripe to make sure that everything tallies with each other, so that when you cut and open it, both sides will look similar to each other. So now that I've matched it like so, I'm just simply going to place the upper part of the skirt onto the folded fabric, and I'll just cut along. Now we're going to be working on the lower part of the skirt, which has a chevron effect on it. So like we created the first one for the blouse bodice, we are equally going to do so. We are taking one part of the skirt like so, place it on our stripe fabric, determine the shape of our chevron, and move it towards the angle that will help us get the same stripe effect. And this is it. As you can see, it has already formed the chevron stripe effect underneath it. So once you master the art of creating your stripe, you won't have an issue doing that. So we're going to be using this one we cut out already to create the same effect for the other side of the skirt by placing it right side up to the right side of the fabric like so. And we're going to move it around to match the stripes on both sides of the fabric, so that we make sure we are cutting exactly the same thing on both sides. So as you can see, it has already fallen into place. So we're just going to cut it out, and once we are done doing that, you see it matches well with each other. So I'm just going to sew this together, and this is how it looks, and it looks similar to what we have in the picture. Here is another stripe we're going to be creating, and here I have a skirt bodice here. So I'm just going to be marking 2 inches up here and 3 inches here, marking towards the outer part of the skirt like so, and 3 inches here. So what I'm going to do is to use my ruler to connect these lines I just marked here. And here I've also cut across the line I've marked, and I'm going to be working on each part of the skirt separately. So I'm going to place this interface on my stripe fabric, and then I'll move it towards the angle that it will give me the same kind of chevron effect of stripe on it. So you move it around till you get the effect you really want to get. So this is it. As you can see, we are onto it already. It has started to take place. So here I'm just going to be cutting this out, and I'm going to work on the other part of the skirt. So here this is done, and unlike the other ones we can place and just copy, it's not going to be the same here. Rather, I'm going to be showing you a technique to do that. So what you have to do is to match the right side of the fabric to the wrong side of the stripe fabric, and then you try to match this with what we have here like so. And once you're done matching this, unlike the other one that you just cut out with the same pattern, you're not going to be doing the same here, because both sides of the skirt are asymmetric, meaning that both of them are not equal and both of them are not the same shape. So the only thing you need to match here is the outer part of the stripe, like I'm doing so. That is where both skirts will join together. That's where you need it to match. And once you are done, you have to mark this with a marker, and then you keep the side of the skirt apart, and then you bring the interface for this part of the skirt using the mark you just made to determine where the joining part of the skirt will be. You just place it on that line you marked like so, and when you're done, you pin it around, and you simply have to cut it out. And now that I've cut out my own piece here, I'll have to match it with the one I've cut before. And you see, it matches well, and it looks similar to what we have in the picture we are copying. Guys, as you can see, creating this effect can be very interesting, and once you keep on practicing, you keep on making more of it. So next we are going to be working on this halter neck bodice. So here it has a princess dart to it, and the first one we're going to be creating for the middle part of the front bodice is a chevron effect stripe. It's an inverted chevron effect style anyway, because it faces upwards. So we're going to be taking a piece of this, because we slashed it into two, the center front slashed into two. So here we're going to be using the same technique of moving left and right to determine the kind of stripe we need, and here we need an inverted stripe effect, so we're going to be tilting towards the left side. As you can see, the stripe has already taken shape. So now I've cut one side of it out. I'm going to be using that side I cut out like usual to cut out the other part of the stripe by matching it together to form the same line. So once this takes shape, I'm just simply going to cut this out. Now this part of the blouse is ready. I'm just going to be working on the sides, and here I'm just going to be picking this up, place it on the stripe fabric, and cut according to the stripe effect we are looking for. Here we're looking for a chevron stripe effect, while the middle is an inverted one. As you can see, we have black here. You can choose to make the black effect also to where you're going to be joining it, or move it to the white side of the stripe to get a different effect. It all depends on the style you want to create. So I'm just simply cutting this out, and when I'm done, I'll do the same for the other part of the side using the same technique like we've been doing before. I'm just going to mash this together like so, and then I'll cut it out. And when I'm done cutting it out, see what we have here, as you can see. And when I sew it together, is a very beautiful one. So thank you guys for watching. I hope I see you guys in my next video. Bye.